From a quarterback that is hoping to get paid to a quarterback that always gets paid. Your number 12 quarterback is.
Well done. It is Kirk Cousins, the Atlanta Falcons. That's right, Kirk O'Chains. Love him or hate him, he's your QB in Atlanta, right? I mean, Kirk Cousins, in a lot of ways, sometimes doesn't get the respect he deserves as a player, right? We know he's not Mr. Gifted superstar.
The narrative is an all-time businessman, but just a middling starting quarterback.
Yeah, you know, I understand that narrative, but I think he's more than that. I do. And here's the first thing I would say. One of the quickest evaluators of a defense you were going to see at the quarterback position in all the NFL, right? I mean, he can see it, diagnose it, start the throwing motion as fast as any QB in the NFL. It's very Joe Burrow-like, right? Where you go, he got there quick. Whoa, what? Hey, he was right. Whoa, how you got to number 3 that quick? Oh, okay, go. Like, I mean, he's amazing that way. Or coming up out of a play action fake, and you're like, man, he's kind of blind, and he just like throws it, and you're like, whoa. I mean, he saw that guy, and he knew the defense. He knew that guy was about to shuffle that way, and he put it in a window, and the receiver wasn't even there yet, and boom, bam, they hit it, 25-yard gain, first down, right? He's got almost a sixth sense that way. And that's where, you know, his knowledge of an offense, who he's been taught by in the past, all of that, he's a great cerebral quarterback, right? But it's not just that. He has a great blend of system surgicality and aggressive playmaking ability in the pocket, right? It's not wowing you. You're not going to go, oh, my gosh, that's the best laser I've ever seen in my life. You're not going to go, oh, my gosh, that was the prettiest bomb I've ever saw ever. He threw that 70 in the air, and it dropped down. No, you're not going to do that, right? But his accuracy is incredible on all levels, especially intermediate throws. Throws somewhere between 10 and 25 yards. He is awesome, right? He is amazing. And, of course, in the short game, he's really good at as well, right? Got great feel in the pocket, you know, and he's tough as hell. He is. He hangs in there, and he gets crushed, and he's not a real big guy. He's got great feel of where to slide and move in the pocket. As we know, after that, movement is not one of his things. He's not going to get out of the pocket, make plays, scramble to make big throws. That's really not part of his game. That's very rare you see that. So, you know, those are some of the good. Now, the negatives, there's a few throws every game where you wish his arm was a little bit more powerful. And, of course, the same thing with his athletic ability. He is a below-average athletic quarterback for 2024. I mean, he's one of the lesser athletes in all of football when it comes to that category, right? It's rare, right? I mean, we're in the era now of like, hey, if 1 and 2 aren't open, you need to be able to go run for 7 or 8 yards every time. He's not going to do that. He's got to go, wait, I can go through 1 to 2 really quick, and I can find 3 because I can't run. So watch how quickly I can get to that guy, right? That's how he has to do that way. So that's where he's really impressive. Now, also negatives, and I've said this and you know this, one of the slower releases you will see, and no arm angles, right? Those are things that I would go, not only are there a few throws every game where you go, ooh, I wish his arm was stronger. Every now and then you go, man, can't you just flick it out there a little bit? Or, hey, there's this, can you throw it sidearm, right? Yeah. There's a few plays every game where I go, wait, that guy just did that, and it was a first down, and you know, have to be in this perfect throwing motion and be all mechanically sound to get it done. And those are negatives about his game for sure.
You need to protect for him then in those situations, which the Atlanta Falcons should be able to do. Yes. Offensive line's pretty good.
Pretty good. That's right.
So he is perhaps the most consistent quarterback that you have ever ranked in your top 40.
I saw this. I'm like, I believe it, but I can't believe it.
Well, he was 12 last year in the what's your ceiling tier. Kind of similar here in this year. 7 years of the Simms top 40. He has never been higher than 12.
That's amazing.
Or lower than 16.
Right. Probably gets thought about at 9 and 10 a lot, but it never quite makes it.
Yeah. And some of his stats yearly are top 10-ish quarterback yards and touchdowns and all that. So he has not yet been fully cleared 100% for OTAs and all the physical activities. He's getting there, though. And so that will be one of the questions with him, is that how quickly he can hit the ground running coming off the injury here, given the fact that he already was a limited athletic quarterback.
Exactly, right. You got that. right?
We do have some video of him at OTA, so maybe we get some.
He is a guy that
information
he needs his body to throw the football. And like we're going to see on these clips right here, his body's not ready to throw the football yet. Well, I mean, he's not like pushing off his back leg very aggressively in all clips I've seen so far. You know, that first one wasn't bad, but this is one like I kind of talked about this with my dad a little bit. When he was on the pod a little. We sent enough clips ago, like he's still favoring that back leg.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I almost wonder if you get into some bad habits trying to go out there.
I've been there in that issue. I've had it, right? I had a badly high ankle sprain when I was playing for the Denver Broncos, and I tried to missed a few days of practice, but I tried to gut it out and get back on the field, and I was on one leg, and it caused me to transfer my balance on my front leg more than my back leg, and started to throw with my arm more, and all of a sudden my elbow started to hurt me a little bit, right? So there can be ripple effects to that, and they'll have to watch that. But yeah, like you said, this is a guy that wasn't known for his athleticism already, and he's also not known for his arm strength, right? And his age, right? And of course the severity of the injury. Right? There's just a little bit of an unknown. That's why he's a wild card. That's why we put him in this type of tier right here. It is. I don't know how good he's going to be. I don't. I know it can be good, but how good, right? And he's a guy that, you know, he can take advantage of system. Right, as we always talk about. And that's part of his beauty, like the beauty of him. You could give him 9 million plays and 9 million coaching points, and he's just like, yep, I got it, right? That's why McVay loved him. That's why Shanahan loved him, because they were like, I have 9 million plays and rules, and this guy remembers them all, right? So that's the beauty of him. And that's a skill in itself, too, that we can't, you know, just disregard, right? But when the system can't come through, right, and he plays a good creative defense, right? This is one thing that jumps out when you really watch it and study it, right? When he plays the system doesn't come through, plays a really good creative defense where the system is not always right? He is not going to make a ton of plays and throws, right? Teams that seem to be creative or can play tight man-to-man coverage, he does not thrive. And that was one of the things that kind of popped out to me with watching him and seeing that.
He did not perform necessarily that well against the Chiefs, although they were close in that game.
No, he had a bad game against the Chiefs, and that would be one of the games that I watched to tell you that, yeah, right. It wasn't, you know Steve Spagnuolo, right? When you play the Chiefs, you got to be able to just play ball. Like, it's not going to be like, oh, I drew it on the board all week, and they're going to be exactly where I thought Steve Spagnuolo would put them. The Chiefs are the ultimate, like, hey, you better be ready to play some football today. Your coach ain't going to be able to tell you every thing they're doing. So you got to make plays and reads and do that. That's where it's, not always great, right, in that department. The 49ers, I know people will say, well, that's a great defense. He did good against that. The 49ers ran two defenses. I mean, they run two defenses, basically. So he knew where they were going to be. And O'Connell had great information being from the Rams and playing the 49ers to go, I know the plays that the 49ers don't like, and they systematically screwed them, right? But, some of the Bears game, right? Games like that, because they do a lot of stuff on defense. They play man-to-man. They put pressure on you that way. That was kind of the thing that jumped out to me a little bit with Todd Bowles in week 1, right? Some crazy stuff there, too. Right? Not that he played bad, but again, in those games, it's just not quite the surgicality and all of that. And then it becomes into, hey, no. The pocket's collapsing. You got to make a big throw here into a tight window. And that's not where he's always going to come through.
Some of the reasons why that maybe the Vikings
Carolina Panthers game, that was another one.
That was his worst game,
right.
For sure.
Same thing. Great defense, really creative, all over the block. And you can't pin it down to, oh, I know what they're going to be on 2nd and 7, right?
Yeah.
And that's where he doesn't always thrive.
So you were questioning at times why the Vikings would not just pay him, but maybe this is some of the thought process that was in that building, and especially coming off of the injury. And on a recent episode of the podcast Up and Adams with Kay Adams, former Viking Jared Allen had to say this about him. He goes, I'm glad the Vikings didn't spend $45 million per year to keep Kirk Cousins. Nothing against Kirk Cousins, but when you're trying to build an organization, I don't think a mid-30s quarterback coming off an Achilles tear is where you want to spend your money.
I think that's where their mind was, right? You know, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, boom, killed it,
nailed it.
Right? That's and he obviously had a vision, and he had alluded to 2 years ago, right? Because Florio always used to bring this up because he's such a Vikings fan, that Cousins isn't a take over the game superstar type of guy, right? So Yeah, they're looking for that. I think, overall, hey, yeah, it's not easy just to let go of some guy who you go, damn, that's good. He's a quarterback. $45 million ain't that really expensive anymore, right? I mean, it's not the worst. It shouldn't kill your football team, that's for sure. That's where I was like, wow. I mean, you're just taking one that you got, and like he's good. And O'Connell's that kind of guy we've been talking about. Like, I got system rules and all that. That's where I thought there was tremendous risk. But to their credit, they found a guy that I think is very similar cerebrally like Kirk Cousins, let alone better physical attributes than J.J. McCarthy. And I think they have a better upside with J.J. McCarthy ultimately in, a few years than they do with Kirk Cousins.
There was no guarantee that we're going to get J.J. or any one of those quarterbacks.
Right.
Who knows? But the way it worked out, I'm sure they're looking back and being like, we're okay with how we played our hand right here. So for Kirk Cousins, he played his hand into Atlanta. You've said before you think that the leash will be long with him, even with Michael Penix there. It'll be a leash tied to another leash. Because Kirk, they paid him. They want this to work out well.
They want it to
Kirk
work.
Cousins there. So will it?
Yeah.
So the weapons around him, Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Rondale Moore.
Yeah.
You got the running of Bijan Robinson. You got
Kyle Pitts.
Good offense. Yeah, Kyle Pitts. Got a good offensive line.
It's there for him.
Better than Minnesota?
Ooh. I think it's a more physical, dominant run offensive line. That's where I would definitely give him an advantage there. No. I'm not going to say that receiving group is of Minnesota, right? When you just take away Jefferson, right, Addison.
Yep.
I know he had KJ Osborne last year. He's not there anymore. And Hawkinson. I don't think I'm going to put Atlanta quite there, but like a chance. Again, Darnell Mooney's got something to him. Rondale Moore, we know if he can stay healthy, he's got something to him too. I think it's a systematical fit that's going to be comfortable for Kirk Cousins and not too different than what he did with McVay and Shanahan or O'Connell. So he's going to feel comfortable there. So, it's but my big thing with him is it going to be more than 1 year? That's where, my dad brought this up when you decided to skip the podcast a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
He thinks like there is no way Kirk Cousins is more than 1 year. And I can certainly see that logic, right? Full year of just watching Michael Penix and what he can do. And from all due accounts, like I told you, it sounds like they had a grade or a feel of him that he was as good as anybody they'd seen in a long time. Like, those are things when I hear that, I go, well, yeah, I don't know. Kirk Cousins is going to have to work for year two. I think that's what's going to happen. He's going to have to work for year two.
I'm sure he's still a little shook up by that because he was on a podcast with Jeff Francoeur, a former Atlanta Braves player.
Right.
He goes, quote, so even now, with the Falcons drafting a quarterback out of nowhere just 3 or 4 weeks ago, I'm reminded again, Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6. Very religious guy.
Yes, he is.
That is, submit yourself fully to your belief in God. So, I mean, you can tell even with that quote, he's like, drafting a quarterback out of nowhere. He had no idea, but he's just going to ride the wave and take it 1 year at a time, and maybe that's all it is.
No, nothing he can do. I'm sure he was shocked. How could he not be? It does put more pressure on him. It makes the situation more uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, it's still going out and performing under pressure. He's used to that, and I think he'll be just fine. Yo, what's up? Thanks for watching, homies. You know it's the off-season, but there's no off-season with Chris Simms Unbuttoned. It's the NFL. It goes all year around, all right? So hit subscribe, please, to hear my thoughts on your favorite team, your favorite quarterback, and, hey, how this season might unfold as we get ready for the 2024 season. We got a better picture, clearer look now that the draft is over, free agency. We know who's playing quarterback for certain teams. So, again, thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe. Peace out, homies. Check you out soon.